Today marks another milestone to the lives of our completers as we come to an end of the school year 2020-2021. We have witnessed how these learners proved their worth to become a member of this year's completers batch. It is an honor to be here to this special event, which is the first step that every child must undertake to open up to another important stage of their lives. Although we are not able to celebrate this face-to-face because of the pandemic, we are still blessed with such momentous event virtually. Good day and welcome to the Numancia Integrated School Virtual Kindergarten Moving Up Ceremony, School Year 2020-2021 with the theme Strengthening the Quality of Education Amid COVID-19 Pandemic. To start with, our Philippine National Anthem, followed by the doxology, Aklan Hymn, Numancia Hymn, NIS Hymn.
Our loving and generous God, we praise and thank you for the bountiful blessings you have given us. Thank you for giving us a mind that can know and a heart that can love. Thank you for giving us the chance to continue learning amidst the pandemic that had caused a lot of changes in our lives. We are sorry for the times we have failed you. We humbly ask for your forgiveness. Father, help us stay focused on our studies. When learning becomes difficult, grant us the gifts of courage and enthusiasm. Grant us the grace to use our knowledge in making a difference into the lives of the people around us. All this we pray in your mighty name. Amen.
mapalangga sa tabi-puso na ikaw makita. Bisan man siin kami nga tanan maadto, ruha mong isipagan una kimo. Ruha mong akan, among pagabantayan, di ka malayran. Rupagaong pati man kalipayan, dayani mo kamuntanan. Ikaw agad, probinsya nga Mandaran, may dagat ka, may bukid pagkapatagan. May adi ka, bantog sa kalibutan, at kulturang ginapabugay bisan tanan. Ruha mong akan, among pagabantayan, ring kamalayran. Rujos na to, imaw nagagiya, akyan probinsya nga mauswag mabuhay ka. Rujos na to, imaw nagagiya, akyan probinsya nga mauswag mabuhay ka.
Magitan sa Kabisaya, ruban wang ginahamutan, buyanit mga baganihan, hagang duna ng ginhalingan, rangban wang ginapalangga, rodyo sa buka ng ginbugna. Magad nga hindi matupungan, kalipay sa akong dughan. Numansya, akong banwang mahal. Matamis nga hingadlan, matawhay nga pahuwayan. Imo nga kadagagan, ginahandom namon tanan. Numansya, agabantayan kamagayran mo. Numansya, akong banwang mahal. Matamis nga hingadlan, matawhay nga pahuwayan. O Diyos nga atong dagangkan, ana ikaw ginatuy-tuyan. Numansya, ikaw rupog ang nagkabuhi ko. Numansya, ikaw rupog ang nagkabuhi ko.
Opening message by our amiable school principal 1, Mrs. Sally Valencia Agapito.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to our moving up and graduation ceremonies for school year 2020-2021. Graduation and moving up ceremonies are major events and transition point for learners, parents, and teachers. This is the time to celebrate your hard work and accomplishments. School year 2020-2021 is particularly challenging for all of us. Everyone battled to cope with the detrimental effects of COVID-19 virus. In our efforts to be alive, our economic side struggled, but we never give up. Education continued despite the situation. Sulong Educanidad. It had been a year of struggles, and here we are now. We survived. We triumphed. I say thank you to our teachers, our unsung heroes, for the commitment and dedication in ensuring that learning never stops, that no learner is left behind. I have to say, our teachers really went the extra mile para sa bata, para sa bayan. I say thank you to our parents and guardians for facilitating learning at home and attending the needs of their children. Your guidance and support have helped our learners build confidence and remain steadfast. I say thank you to all our stakeholders who share resources for the continuity of education using the print modular distance learning modality. Nagtagumpay tayo ngayong taon dahil sa tulong ninyong lahat. Sa panuruang taon 2020-2021, sama-sama din natin harapin ang bagong normal na may kahabagan at sensibilidad. Mas handa at mas matatag upang ang paraan ng pag-aaral ay hindi maging pabigat para sa mga magulang, mga mag-aaral, at mga guro. Subalit, isang pag-asa sa gitna ng krisis. Sa kabila ng mga pagsubok na tatahakin, sisiguraduhin natin na pareho nating makamit ang pagbibigay ng kalidad na edukasyon at pagtitiyak sa kaligtasan ng ating lahat. Again, congratulations to all our graduates and completers who are moving up to the next level. I wish you all the best. My love and prayers will always be with you.
Message from the Office of the DepEd Secretary, Secretary Leonor Magtulis Brillones.
Good day to each and everyone who is attending virtually present at this time of our graduation ceremonies for our beloved and very precious graduates for the school year which ends at this time. First of all, I'd like to greet the parents and family members without whose sacrifices, whose reminders, and whose participation in the learning process for our graduates have resulted in this culmination program. This year, your role has changed drastically, where we've always thought, we've always believed that the matter of educating our children rests nearly exclusively on our teachers and our staff. This time, you parents, you family members, you who are in the households of our learners have expanded your role and contributed to this wonderful day wherein finally our learners are graduating in this culmination exercise. So congratulations because this year has not been very easy, has not been a picnic for our teachers, for our family members, as well, especially the parents, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, and all who have contributed to the achievement of our learners at this time. So, maraming salamat at congratulations, parents and family members. Mas malaki ang role ninyo at this time compared to earlier graduation exercises. Secondly, I would also like to greet our teachers, without whose very careful review and careful supervision of the work of our pupils and our learners, this event would not be taking place at all. And so thank you, teachers. Your role has also expanded, in addition to seeing to it that the modules are faithfully followed, the assignments are correctly implemented, and the learners are truly learning. And you have had to deal with new ways of assessing the performance also of the learners. So congratulations, teachers, for enduring, for your patience, for your love for our learners, and your willingness to engage in a way and methods of teaching which are different from those which are used to. Assessment must have been especially difficult for you, especially since you were not able to see most of the time our students in face-to-face meetings, and most of the meetings, of course, were virtual. We'd also like to thank the local government units for their interest, for their cooperation, and for their continuing contributions to the needs of education, even as our children do not go to school. Your donations of material as well as financial resources at this time are most welcome, and your advice has been taken seriously, not only by our teachers, by our school officials, but also by our officials in the Department of Education. We continually talk with local government units, especially in times of disaster, in times of great need for classrooms, for space, and for responses to unforeseen emergencies. Thank you, local government units. But of course, most of the congratulatory greetings fall on the deserving graduate. Each and every one of you is truly special. You are different from the other graduates who have passed through the portals of your school. You went to school practically without seeing your teachers, if at all. You went to school with your parents, your mothers and your fathers hovering over your shoulders and seeing to it that you are able to complete your assignments. You are completing your studies at a time when examinations and assessments are different. You are culminating these long months of hard work at this time, even as you have to do family chores, even as you are distracted, and even as your world has turned upside down, and it seems and it appears as if We don't know what the future holds and what will happen next. But you have persevered, and now you are ready to graduate. And therefore, you deserve each and every bit of congratulations from us in the Department of Education, from your parents and family members, your teachers, from the officials in local government, as well as in the parent teachers associations. You deserve each and every single congratulatory pat on your back, each hug virtually, of course, and each greeting, which I am sure you are also receiving virtually. I don't know if you will remember this event many years from now. I have tried to recall myself who our graduation speaker was when I finished high school and when I finished my college studies. All I remember is that the graduation speaker was someone important, someone who was invited because that someone is supposed to give a message. What was more important to us graduates at that time was the excitement of the celebrations, the happiness and the joy of our parents, the sadness of parting from our classmates and from our teachers, and the enjoyment of all the graduation events that usually take place come commencement day. When I was a college student, we had a series of events which were designed to embed in our minds, which were designed to help us remember and not forget our days in college. We would spend one whole day going around the campus, visiting the classrooms, saying goodbye to our teachers, and sharing memories. We would have bonfires to say goodbye to each other. We had baccalaureate services where we committed ourselves to God and we prayed for guidance when we go out into the world. So many celebrations, and the speaker, of course, is the least important and easily forgotten component of the graduation exercise. Nonetheless, I will exert all efforts to share with you what I see are things or issues which a graduate should remember and recall. I have said that you are very special. You are very different. You are pioneering. There has been no other class like your class. There has been no other graduate like you as a graduating student, because you are the very first graduate of the blended learning response to education in the Philippines. And so you ask yourself, what awaits you in the world outside? You can either work, because the kind of curriculum you survived and underwent as a student will enable you to go to work if you wish to go to work. Some of you will proceed to further studies, and this would be a wonderful thing because there are many opportunities for further expanding your knowledge, for further answering and looking for explanations of issues, events that make you curious, especially in science, in technology, and also in the arts. So you can work you can go to further studies, and perhaps some of you will settle down, hopefully not too soon, so you can pursue what you really want to do. So today, this is why we call this exercise a commencement exercise. It's not the end of our studies. It's not the end of all our efforts with blended learning, with modules, with floods, with earthquakes, and of course with COVID. It's a commencement of doors opening to you. More doors will be opened because you are a graduate. You can work, you can proceed for further studies, you can help your parents, and you can perhaps look for opportunities to do what you have always wanted to do, whether at work, whether at advanced studies, whether at learning more in science and technology, in mathematics, and in the arts. All of these opportunities are available to you. More doors are being opened. I hope you will select the door which arouses your curiosity, the door which will help you know more about this world, and the door which will allow you to contribute to the development of our country and contribute whatever we can to solve our problems and our challenges. Congratulations once more to each and every one of you. Congratulations to you, parents and family members. Congratulations to you, teachers. When I was chair of the board of Silliman University, each time we had graduation ceremonies, during the baccalaureate and during commencement itself, I would cry. I would cry because you are sending out into the world a new batch of graduates, and we want to be sure that what is awaiting them is appropriate. We want to be sure that they are ready for what awaits them when they select which door to open. And so, we tell you, go out to the world, do whatever you want to do. God be with you, and be assured that all of us love each and every one of you. Congratulations.
Message of our DepEd Regional Director, Dr. Ramir B. Oipico, CESO 4.
Congratulations, dear graduates and completers of school year 2020-2021. You make us look at the future with anticipation and pride. You have once again proven that true champions can thrive in the midst of the challenging realities of life. Your sheer grit and resilience have brought you this far in your lifelong pursuit of quality education. Your achievements call for a celebration. You have risen above the worst of times and have responded to the overwhelming demands of the new normal with elan. Your education must not only be reflected in your report cards, but must be manifested in how you masterfully deal with life. An embodiment of courage, compassion, character, and competence. As you relish this moment, remember to celebrate your success with our indefatigable advocates and champions of quality education. Teachers, parents, school administrators, education leaders, stakeholders, and friends, among others. Your success seals our triumph over trials. It propels our collective aspiration for a brighter future despite the limitations caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. This is just the beginning of a beautiful journey ahead. We firmly believe in your potential for success because in DepEd Region 6, every child is a champion. As you cross this time of immense challenges and great opportunities, keep your passion for greatness alive. May your achievements inspire everyone to move forward with a renewed sense of hope, meaning, and purpose. Together, we shall rise as one. Ipadayon ta ang pagpalanggaanay. Once again, congratulations and mabuhay!
Message of our school's Division Superintendent, Dr. Miguel Mac D. Apusin, CESO 5.
It is with great joy and thanksgiving that we congratulate our completers and graduates this school year 2020-2021. We thank the Almighty God for granting us the grace to survive this school year in the midst of unprecedented challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Our sincere felicitations also goes to the many kind-hearted individuals and institutions who helped see us through these trying times, the parents, as well as family members and friends of our learners, school officials, teachers, and other school personnel, our community leaders, government officials, and the many other stakeholders who tirelessly supported our initiatives to ensure continuity of learning. The overflowing acts of support and generosity that we witnessed and experienced this school year encouraged us to continue with our efforts to ensure that the education of our young people is not sacrificed during this pandemic. This is reflected in our theme for this school year's end of school year rights, strengthening the quality of education amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Truly, the school year 2020-2021 has been a difficult and challenging chapter for all of us in the education sector. However, we are glad because it has also been a school year where we experienced the unity and solid response of various sectors in ensuring that the right of our children to inclusive and quality education is not curtailed. Further, concerted efforts were put in place to give priority to the safety of our learners from the health risks of COVID-19. To our completers and graduates this school year, this momentous milestone in your life should be marked with gladness and appreciation. You have shown resiliency and perseverance during this trying time. The experience will hopefully give you the courage and confidence to face life's challenges ahead. Remain steadfast as well as focused on your goals. Nurture your faith. Lastly, on behalf of the entire DepEd Schools Division of Aklan, heartfelt congratulations and our prayers for the safety and good health of everyone. May God bless us.
Message from our Public Schools District Supervisor, Mr. Jude Ulysses V. Ruiz.
My warmest felicitations to our graduates and completers of school year 2020-2021 with the theme Strengthening the Quality of Education Amid the COVID-19 Pandemic. In this current situation, where everybody is affected by the pandemic, the accomplishments you have achieved are very significant. Acquiring education during these difficult times has become more challenging for you since the mode of learning has shifted from normal face-to-face classes to modular learning. In these trying times, to quit from studies is a possibility. But you, dear graduates and completers, have chosen to accept the challenge and embrace the changes. Now, you have earned the fruit of your labor. Behind your success are people who have played vital role in motivating, guiding and providing you with the best ways to make education accessible and attainable. These are your family, teachers, and school leaders. Your family's full support and guidance have no doubt inspired you to reach this far. Your teachers and school leaders' constant encouragement and perseverance to deliver basic education through modular distance modality have improved the quality of education amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Keep in mind the things you have learned from your mentors, as this will make you become a well-rounded individual. Remember that success is not only measured by the academic grades you have attained in school, but by how you can adapt and surpass the test of life. Don't allow these uncertainties we are experiencing due to COVID-19 pandemic affect your quest to continue your education. Remain focused on your goals and be strong to endure the challenges that time may bring as you continue to pursue your dreams in life. May God bless you always. Congratulations.
Presentation of candidates for moving up by Mrs. Sally V. Agapito, School Principal 1.
Mr. Mark S. Tropa, Education Program Supervisor in Filipino, representing Dr. Miguel Mac D. Aposin, CESO5, Schools Division Superintendent, DepEd Division of Aklan, I have the honor to present to you the 158 candidates for moving up for school year 2020-2021, 67 of whom are boys and 91 are girls. These 158 pupils have satisfactorily completed the requirements of the kindergarten curriculum as prescribed by the Department of Education. Sir, I hereby recommend the confirmation of their moving up.
Confirmation of our kindergarten completers, school year 2020-2021 by Mr. Mark S. Tropa, Education Supervisor 1 in Filipino.
By virtue of the authority delegated to me as the representative of our Schools Division Superintendent, Schools Division of Aklan, Dr. Miguel Mac D. Apusin, CESO 5, and having been presented by your school principal, Mrs. Sally V. Agapito, and duly certified by your Public Schools District Supervisor, Mr. Jude Ulysses B. Ruiz, that these 158 pupils, 67 of whom are males and 91 are females, have completed the basic requirements prescribed by the Department of Education under the Basic Education Curriculum. I now confirm you kindergarten completers of Numancia Integrated School for school year 2020-2021. Therefore, you are now eligible for admission to grade 1 in any public or private elementary school in the country. Congratulations!
Class of 2021 completers. Kinder Yellow Morning Session. Ali Nino John B., son of Mr. and Mrs. Nino and Angelica Ali. Andrade Blake Andre B., son of Mr. and Mrs. Gilbert and Dalin Gay Andrade. Sichon Jaden Leon A., son of Mr. and Mrs. Leo and Jeremy Sichon. Garcia Bon Michael V., son of Mr. and Mrs. Bonifacio and Herminia Garcia. Gregorio Court Atlas R., son of Mr. and Mrs. Raymond and Maricel Gregorio. Nalaunan John Vincent N., son of Mr. and Mrs. Jody and Nicelle Nalaunan. Pereira Elion Luis, son of M.S. Jocelyn R. Pereira. Raymond John Jerick M., son of Mr. and Mrs. Jason and Ruby Raymond.
Ruel Ephrael Luke O., son of Mr. and Mrs. Oliver and Rowena Ruel. Sagaral J. Jr. M., son of Mr. and Mrs. J. and Risa Sagaral. Salinero John Del D., son of Mr. and Mrs. John and Rochelle Salinero. Tihada Sachari Hunter M., son of Mr. and Mrs. Vilmin and Jenna Tihada. Ambrosio Chloe H., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Darrell and Sarah Jane Ambrosio. Bautista Janelia Main Z., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Mark John and Joylene Bautista. Cabangon Janelle V., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Danielle and Gessie Cabangon. Kawaling Yumi Shandel P., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ronald and Loribeth Kawaling. Kawaling Maxine Rain R., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Mark James and Rena May Kawaling. De La Torre Absidi Pearl C., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Arnel and Claricel De La Torre. Eulalio Irwin I., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Lister and Lealyn Eulalio. Galan LJR., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jason and Lugil Galan. Ibanez Kathleen Cheng A., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Reynold and Ria Hermina Ibanez. Naig Eliza Jamel A., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. James Russell and Maria Lou Naig. Nainge Shell Patricia O., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Patrocinio and Lynn Nainge. Nainge Cherilyn O., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Patrocinio and Lynn Nainge. Nalangan Alexa Faye T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Chris and Cherry Nalangan. Nalaunan Jacqueline B., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jacqueline and Jeneline Nalaunan. Paderes Samantha K. T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jovi and Silinita Paderes. Pagayon Shenhai A., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Celso and Lorna Pagayon Jr. Rufino Ariane D., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Erwin and Richelle Rufino. Salaver Angelos Natalia T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Emmanuel and Adelia Salaver. Tarantan Anne Bernadette O., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Elias and Marites Tarantan. Templo Nuevo Eliza Kate V., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ryan and Annalie Templo Nuevo. Valencia Darlene, daughter of MS May Jean F. Valencia. Kinder Yellow Morning Session, congratulations! Kinder Yellow Afternoon Session. Alba Aidan Jerwin G., son of Mr. and Mrs. Greggy and Rowena Alba. Bilyeza John Ray T., son of Mr. and Mrs. Joffy and Larlene Bilyeza. Bunyog Gian V., son of Mr. and Mrs. Jorin and Elisa Bunyog. Daria Chief Sander B., son of Mr. and Mrs. Mervyn and Connie Daria. David Christian J.C., son of Mr. and Mrs. Jeffrey and Annalisa David. Lagahit Mackenzie K.M., son of Mr. and Mrs. Marion, Brent and Charlie May. Macavinta Kurt Daniel A., son of Mr. and Mrs. Rowell and Maricadel Macavinta. Minavis Johnny Liz Manuel P., son of Mr. and Mrs. Willard and Dijuana Minavis. Narciso Drake Francis R., son of Mr. and Mrs. C.J. Christopher John and Susie Narciso. Nerval Rijan Jr. D., son of Mr. and Mrs. Rijan and Josie Nerval Sr. Nerval Raymar I., son of Mr. and Mrs. Marlo and Rose Nerval. Ray John Lawrence L., son of Mr. and Mrs. Russell John and Anna May Ray. Saluta Shartali R., son of Mr. and Mrs. Mark Anthony and Maria Fit Saluta. Tabaco Rizel A., son of Mr. and Mrs. Mario and Rosalyn Tabaco. Tagala Rusty John I., son of Mr. and Mrs. Rusky and Jonalie Tagala. Alovera Zarin Junia E., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jocolson and Laranin Alovera. Kahilig Janelle C., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Roy and Jeline Kahilig. Dalisay Maria Isabel V., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Victor Rolando and Julian Dalisay. De La Cruz Ilyani May T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Elmer Chan and Melanie De La Cruz. Esparagoza Kizandra M., daughter of M.S. Danica Esparagoza. Fuentes Solengil O., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Michael and Christy Joy Fuentes. Ligaspi Zavana Irish R., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Joville and Jessie Ligaspi. Malibong Micaela Jean I., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Leo and Idralin Malibong. Nala Lenzil C., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Edsil and Jonaline Nala. Ocheda Mary Chulin S., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Fons Nicole and Florlene Ocheda. Reyes Zaira Nicole S., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Frederick and Rosalind Reyes. Rojas Anadel T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Anselmo and Jovelyn Rojas. Saradolia Mary Grace C., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Randy and Darlene Saradolia. Tihada Donna Phil, daughter of M.S. Charmaine V. Tihada. Tihada Leslie C., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Juan and Leia Tihada. Torde Crestil Joy G., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Nector and Christine Torde. Torde Pritime F., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Nestor and Ronalie Torde. Kinder Yellow Morning Session, congratulations! Mrs. Jacqueline E. Tabilon, Kindergarten Yellow Advisor. Kinder Pink Morning Session, Constantino Brian Diego A., son of Mr. and Mrs. Brian and Giselle Constantino. Custodio Kurt Nigel C., son of Mr. and Mrs. Nino and Julie May Custodio. Gomez Rene Jaser G., son of Mr. and Mrs. Jose J. and Regine Gomez. Hilado Piel Aaron A., son of Mr. and Mrs. Philip and Alona Hilado. Inosanto John Jero I., son of Mr. and Mrs. Chanua and Annie Rose Inosanto. Luxin Timothy Joaquin R., son of Mr. and Mrs. Vincent and Jelly Luxin. Puod Aaron Kyle T., son of Mr. and Mrs. Ronald and Binaline Puod. Ray Crisander V., son of Mr. and Mrs. Ramel and Queenie Joy Ray. Rofo Tyler Oreo M., son of Mr. and Mrs. Avelino and Mildred Rofo Jr. Silvestre Sean Aldrich V., son of Mr. and Mrs. John and Midonna Silvestre. Tolios Alexis John R., son of Mr. and Mrs. Marlon and Violeta Tolios. Tungol Mark Joshua V., son of Mrs. Jelisa V. Tungol. Oreta Franz J.M.S., son of Mr. and Mrs. Giselle and Marivic Oreta. Ansa Abriel Gwyneth Y., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Glimmer and Arlette Gay Ansa. Bautista Lorraine Kate S., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Kister and Leonaline Bautista. Kala Nathalie Francine, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Emilio and Neve Mirel Unsay III. Coracho Ivory Nave S., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jimwell and Justine May Coracho. Del Rosario Rain Ainsley M., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Richie Anthony and Jonaline Del Rosario. Iridiano Lara May C.E., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Larry and Linlin Iridiano. Fuerte Angeli Marge A., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rolly and Marjeline Fuerte. Hiraldo Zoe Micaela S., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Mark Jean Hiraldo. Morales Jewel May F., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Lyndon and Jonabel Morales. Morales Rachel Kate R., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ranji and Lordini Morales. Olandesca Maureen Kate E., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Maynard and Lenny Olandesca. Salazar Micaela G. M., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Michael J. and G. Ann Salazar. Sehera Samantha Faith S., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Given and Rose Sehera. Swante Marcian Rochelle T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Kenneth and Janica Swante. Tabang Scarlett Joy N., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Harry and Christine Joy Tabang. Tolentino Kazi R., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Leomar and Karen May Tolentino. Trahi Raven Feliz R., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ronan and Janice Trahe. Kinder Pink completers, congratulations! Kinder Pink afternoon session. Bakunawa Zildjian Linnell I., son of Mr. and Mrs. John Lester and Donelia Bakunawa. Kawanin Ocean Jezreel, son of Miss Jovi Kawanin. Dongito Julian Jos Gabriel I., son of Mrs. Ami I. Dongito. Gonzales Marjun D., son of Mr. and Mrs. Mario and Jonah Gonzales. Javier Armando III T., son of Mr. and Mrs. Armando and Jennifer Javier Jr. Malakas Ivan Miguel H., son of Mr. and Mrs. Jeffrey and Joyce Malakas. Nakar Tom Ivan T., son of Mr. and Mrs. Thomas and Vivian Nakar. Orkin Zane Lighton F., son of Mr. and Mrs. Leonard and Dina Orkin. Paliada Saiji Robert C., son of Mr. and Mrs. Seimer and Angeline Paliada. Rakan Prince Cyrus C., son of Mr. and Mrs. Gerald and Jessamy Rakan. Tassis John Terence A., son of Mr. and Mrs. Jomar Abney Tassis. Uy Nico T., son of Mr. and Mrs. Rolito and Ramilin Uy. Carillo Fiona B., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Lewin Joseph and Maricris Carillo. Diageo Freabel Myceline G., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Frian Chico and Jonabel Diageo. Francisco Ayusha Faye S., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jason and Christina Francisco. Fuentes Kyle Stacy O., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Eduardo and Ernestina Fuentes. Financial Rachel Venus N., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Vanessa and Rachel Ganancia. Gayor Akira Mitch V., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Raymond and Mary Jane Gayor. Guerrilla Daniela Bildel T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Romel and Daisy May Guerrilla. Gonzales Rain Caitlin Z., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Reynold and Mia Shena Gonzales. Ibadlit Jebel Hart B., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rolly and Rowena Ibadlit. Itoriaga Jazea Ariana P., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jester and Rina Itoriaga. Magdaleno Glean Joy T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Idril and Diane Fuerte. Magharing Gian T., daughter of Mrs. Joanna May Magharing. Mantak Alexandra S., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Andrew and Alexa Mantak. Modas Arjeline I., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. R.V. and Junabel Modas. Okendo Jamaica V., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jim and Isaac Kendo. Parto Janelia Villis R., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Fan and Ivy Parto. Perez Christine Angela T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Chris and April Joy Perez. Salinero Andrea R., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Andy and Felisa Salinero. Silverio Yesha Marie, daughter of M.S. Maria A. Silverio. Caballo Aizen T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Julius Irving and Adelpha Joy Tabalo. Torres Maria Elisa V., Mr. and Mrs. Mark L. John and Celeste Joy Torres. Kinder T completers, congratulations!
Mrs. Michelle C. Makahilas, Kindergarten Pink Advisor.
Kinder Green Morning Session. Briboneria Jillian Kyle O., son of Mr. and Mrs. Julian and Regina Briboneria. Dulinog Kyle Dustin T., son of Mr. and Mrs. June Lester and Sheila Dulinog. Gonzalez J.B.E., son of Mr. and Mrs. O.D. and Maricar Gonzalez. Hanga Joven Lee T., son of Mr. and Mrs. Julito and Leslie Hanga. Isuga Joshua A., son of Mr. and Mrs. Junilo and Madeline Isuga Jr. Javier Ernely D., son of Mr. and Mrs. Ernel and Lizelle Javier. Lalaki Ruby Johnfrog S., son of Mr. and Mrs. Jonald and Rodessa Lalaki. Manares Charvi Isaiah M., son of Mr. and Mrs. Charles Jovern and Veronica Jane Manares. Maravilla Skylar James R., son of Mr. and Mrs. Cipriano Jr. and Mavela Maravilla. Paulo Gion F., son of Mr. and Mrs. Gerol and Leia Paulo. Euclid AJ.A., son of Mr. and Mrs. Isidro Jr. and Angeli Pukid. Sarabia Franz Axel B., son of Mr. and Mrs. Fredan and Arlene Sarabia. Tapar Pebsmark V., son of Mr. and Mrs. Pablito Jr. and Rosalie Tapar. Tumbagahan Sian S., son of Mr. and Mrs. Jessie and Annalisa Tumbagahan. Topaz Lance D., son of Mr. and Mrs. Ronel and Angelina Tupaz. Arellano Haina Ashley, daughter of M.S. Dodili Nemes. Cadiz Kaisea Ray N., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Mark Anthony and Connie Cadiz. Cesar Janica Marie B., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Nico Vincent and Jonalie Cesar. Istolano Aimberg Chel M., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Leo and Joyce Istolano. Gonzalez Empress Ira T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rodel and Jenny Gonzalez. Gregorio Ashley Cassandra T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Joy and Richie Lee Gregorio. Morales Cassandra Louise F., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ricky and Loida Morales. Nino Jen May T., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Reno and Marilo Nino. Pina Flor Eliza P., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Isagani and Michelle Pina Flor. Kenoveva Ira Joy P., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Romel Joseph and Joanne Kenoveva. Rico Alexa F., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ruben and Queenie Jane Rico. Servidad Alea Kate E., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jose and Arlene Servidad. Solomon Jeline P., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Dave and Judy Ann Solomon. Torres Ivana Jean R., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Chris and Charlene Torres. Trico Laika F., daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Larry and Sally Trico. Kinder Green, congratulations!
Mrs. Griselda D. Almero, Kindergarten Green Advisor. Introduction of our guest speaker by Mrs. Michelle C. Makahilas, Teacher 1.
To our distinguished guests, our administrative staff, parents, our dear completers, a pleasant day to everyone. It is my distinct honor and privilege to humbly introduce to you our guest speaker. She is a graduate of Numancia Elementary School, now known as Numancia Integrated School. She is a very dedicated woman, married to Mr. Alonso Tropa, and blessed with one daughter. She is a retired master teacher too, served and dedicated her life for almost 30 years in the department, teaching our learners patiently and wholeheartedly. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Melbeth Kahili Tropa, retired master teacher too.
Ladies and gentlemen, an inspirational message from Mrs. Melbeth Kahilig Tropa, retired master teacher 2.
Good day. My greatest respect to our illustrious district supervisor, Mr. Jude Ulysses V. Ruiz, to our workaholic and renowned Principal 1, Mrs. Sally V. Agapito, to the powerhouse line of diligent and skilled kinder and elementary teachers, to all parents and families who have gathered for this virtual moving up ceremony for school year 2020-2021. My dear kinder pupils, you may not march in aisle to personally receive your certificates of completion because of the pandemic COVID-19 is threatening the holding of completion ceremonies. This is an opportunity I had only dreamed and never thought to have realized this soon. Kaya kung ito'y isang panaginip lang, ayaw ko nang magising. How could I rebuff such an invitation? I feel exceptionally blessed. Thank you. Dahil sa among kapobrehon, my parents always emphasized and reminded us that education is the wealth that they can give. It's our only ticket to success. Hambal ko sang sarili, hindi ko bibiguin ang mga magulang ko. Tinguhaon ko, pobrahon ko, rutanan nga hindi masayang ruanda nga mga sakripisyo. To all the parents, words are not enough to thank you. No one can pay back what you have done for us. Sa tanan nga inunga nga nagapamati makaron, tell your nanay, mama, mommy, your tatay, papa, daddy, how much you love them. Say, I love you. Your grades also serve to give your parents some idea of how you are doing in school. Good pupils, however, take responsibility for their learning. Personal motivation helps you keep going. Inspire nyo the inyong nga sarili. For example, pag mataas ang grades o kung may honors, ako kara hay bakgan gid ni nanay it bag-ong ngambok. You have to set your goals for yourself. The theme of this year's end of school rights, kalidad ng edukasyon, lalong patatagin sa gitna ng pandemya. Strengthening the quality of education amid the COVID-19 pandemic. It echoes each and everyone's aspiration for quality education. Our dear teachers are the unsung heroes of yesterday, today, tomorrow, and forever. May I request everyone to give our teachers a big round of applause. As your guest speaker, it's all about the fact that I can inspire these little ones to dream, to believe in themselves, and to have faith in God. Those are my lucky charms I carry along with me. Always do your best. What you have planted now, you will harvest later. To all our completers, 2 thumbs up for a mission accomplished. Once again, congratulations and mabuhay.
At this juncture, we would like to extend our gratitude to everyone who helped us in making the continuous delivery of quality education for school year 2020-2021 possible. The LGU Numancia, to Honorable Mayor Jezreel T. Templanuevo, Barangay Captain Allen A. Andrada, Barangay officials and Barangay Tanods of Barangay Poblacion Numancia, Barangay officials of our cluster barangays, Huyaw-Huyaw, Marianos, and Tabangka, PTA officials, parents, alumni, and to all who donated printing supplies and equipment and COVID-19 emergency response supplies. Sa inyong lahat, maraming salamat po. To our DepEd officials, SDO Aklan, PSDS Jude Ulysses Verruiz, thank you very much. To our guest speaker, Mrs. Melbeth Kahilig Tropa, retired Master Teacher 2 of Numancia Integrated School, thank you for sharing your time and words of inspiration to our completers. Lastly, special thanks to Ma'am Elizabeth T. Valencia Jr. and Sir Vesper C. Vega for making these virtual moving up ceremonies for school year 2020-2021 possible. Walang hanggang pasasalamat para sa inyong lahat mula sa Numancia Integrated School.
Busy days we have spent with our crayons and pencils, drawing objects, counting numbers, learning our ABC. We can write our name, spell it out loud and clear. We can sing song of love to our baby Jesus dear. Dearest Mama and Papa, we love you sincerely. Here in our kindergarten, we are happy as can be. As we bid for goodbye to our dear teachers now, our diploma on hand, on graduation day we vow. Dearest Mama and Papa, we love you sincerely. Here in our kindergarten, we are happy as can be. As we bid for goodbye to our dear teachers now, our diploma on hand, on graduation day we vow. Our diploma on hand, on graduation day we vow.
would like to extend our heartfelt thanks and gratitude to all the people behind this event making it possible and successful. Thank you so much. Kudos and God bless us all.